So they keep me on track. Recording, yeah. Do you want to record? Oh, yes, I do. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so not that I got anywhere. So why do we meditate? Is meditate to quiet the mind, to get the mind to come to stillness. Because when the mind comes to stillness, then we have the opportunity to experience our higher self, which is the higher self is always blocked by our ego, by the activity of the mind, by our ignorance. You know, we just don't know that there's something higher. We think our mind is the end, and it's not. And it's not. So our ego, our desires, our ignorance. And Prakriti, well, no, won't even go there. So we're passive and we're looking to get this mind to quiet. So there are several ways that Rod has shared with me, and I haven't really heard of all these before in the meditation. So I'm going to be practicing these. So I'll go ahead and I'll read them as I recorded them this afternoon in our conversation, and you can pick one that works for you, or that attracts you in our meditation. So what we're doing is we're concentrating. So the concentration, we have a concentration on the idea of offering the self to the divine, right? Uh, that's the main idea that we're actually involved with, is how do we get ourselves deeper and deeper in the throes of that divine reality. Be conscious of that divine reality by this concentration. So we try to make our mind passive. We try to make it open. So there's several aids in how do we establish a meditative practice, or different things. And the things that I'm going to tell you that I haven't really heard of before, but Rod says that he frequently will use various ones at various times for his meditation, which I think is great. All right, so we can visualize, for instance, number one, we can visualize a symbol of the Divine Mother, right? So this can be, if we're in the yogic lineage, it can be Lakshmi, it could be Tara. If we're in the Western idea of, say, Christianity, we could focus on the Divine Mother, right? And we could, or the Madonna would be the better. So Christ's mother representing that female principle, right? So we surrender the mind to that, and in that divine image, and we disappear into ourselves, allow ourselves to just be enveloped in that thought. So that's one way. So if you've got a picture, if my mother was involved here, she was a devout Catholic. So a picture of the Madonna would be fantastic for her, right? And so second aid, so watch the thoughts passing through. So this is frequently what I use, or what I'm forced to use, because I can't actually get that mind. I can't terminate it. I can't cut its head off. So I have to watch the thoughts come, and I see them come. And in fact, I don't even see them originate, but I definitely see them come. And the best I can, I don't get involved in them. So whatever it may be that I'm recognizing is I don't want to get involved in that thought. It comes up and then you just let it go. And it's similar to the Vipassana breath practice where you're watching the breath, but you're not doing anything but breathing in and out and just paying attention to that. And with the thoughts, as the thoughts come, the thought comes, oh, I'd like to have a new car. And that thought comes up, well, I'd like a new car, let it go. I don't have to then pick out the model, the color, any of that, as long as you don't get yourself involved in that thought process. And as I discovered for myself, one of the things in my meditation that I frequently find myself in is that, oh, I've totally lost that. I'm followed the thought, and now I'm down the road and I'm buying a car now in my brain. And it's like, wait a minute, gotta stop, regroup, come on back, and let it be at that. So the more you can disengage from that as a second approach.
Question, Ellen.
Yes.
Is there any definition that you have of the divine?
Oh, the divine. What is a definition of the divine?
To you, I think it would be different maybe to everybody, but I don't know.
Infinite universal love, truth, power, beauty, bliss.
Universal love, power, beauty, bliss. So that came from Rod just now, but I agree with it. It makes sense to me, is that ultimate, that, the source of everything, the source of all, right? So coming up with a mental definition at the moment is not going to really benefit us.
No, I didn't mean to.
Trying to, okay, so, but we don't want to get involved. We're trying to quiet the mind. So coming up with a definition is stimulating the mind. So let's try it. No apologies. So it's valid, that's what was going on for you. Okay.
One of the aims is in fact to visualize the divine love and truth and power and hold that idea before the mind.
Okay.
And let the mind be inundated and dissolved by that idea.
Okay. So looking at the divine love and truth, allow your mind to go into that, allow your mind to dissolve into that, or however that comes to you, if you can just focus on that, because concentration is what's required here. So we've got to concentrate on, so we're using these aids for a method of concentration. Another one is formulate a contradiction that may be troubling you. So as we talked, it was interesting. We're calling on the higher intelligence and the higher mind to grasp this contradiction and then to find a resolution for it. And the analogy or the example that was given, which I thought was pretty good, is if we look at the whole democratic process that we're going through, and as difficult it is through the elections and whatever has gone on for the past several years, is like, well, gee whiz, the idea of democracy, the idea that we're actually trying to cohabitate in peace and work it out, and everybody has to give a little bit to everybody gain a great amount more than you're giving away. So that kind of thing is a dichotomy. It's like, well, how can we have such a corrupt system, it seems like, but at the same time, we're still moving ahead. We're still more peaceful than we ever have been in our civilization in the world, right? There's less and less fighting going on. There's less and less killing going on. So, pardon me. So this is not discussion, Noel. So whatever that is, a struggle in democracy. So another one would be, so in this, how is the divine what is that divine principle and how is it elevating us, right? Which I find the democracy is like, okay, what can I do? We were talking, and all I can do is accept it. But when I look at how is the divine elevating us, now that's a whole different thing for me, right? That there is a uplifting, and how is that going on? And you can take a look at your life through all of this and recognize that. And then the final one is visualizing the hierarchy of existence with divine love as the origin, with the descent into our life and mind, and to become one with that, right? This is a universal principle, and we realize divine love is behind all things. And so any one of those things that you can bring into yourself and allow yourself to get lost in. So for myself, I see that what attracts me the most is how is the divine elevating us? What are we going on? Right? Okay, so now before I ask us to continue, now, is there a question? Is there anything that did not make any sense? Do I have to explain any more? Would you like anything further than that? If I'm capable, I certainly can ask Rod if I can't answer it myself, if you got something. Noel, did you have a question now?
Oh, I always have questions, but it's not
I,
necessary, Alan.
oh, okay. I
I
mean,
don't
so,
always expect answers either.
all right. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I also didn't want to have a discussion.
I didn't
Right,
mean to interrupt. I sneezed.
right. So I remember Mark is sitting there, and what does Mark have to say? Right. So, all right, everybody's good. Everybody's good. All right. With that, let's sit with the spine erect. Be comfortable. Be vertical. Right. And
10 minutes,
excuse me.
10 minutes meditation.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. So I'll set a timer for 10 minutes. Oh, I've already got it there. All right. And go ahead, close your eyes. And you pick something that makes sense to you. Some of you I know already meditate. So part of the program is not having to stay with exactly what I've laid out. But if that works for you, if it makes sense, then use it. If you've already got an approach and you find yourself that you're caught in that or easily caught in the meditation, use that. Okay, timer is starting. And that's 10 minutes. Gently open your eyes. Open your eyes from the back of your head. So you're coming out of a deep tunnel. Good. So personally, I found that focusing on how the divine is bringing love into my life is like, I never thought about. I enjoy helping people, and down in Vallejo, for instance, I do reflexology on some of the guys. I rub some of the legs and arms that are sore. I mean, it's kind of like there's other ways than just teaching yoga that came up, and I hadn't quite thought of it that way. So I turn the floor over to Mr. Hemsel, and thanks for his. Move this. Okay. Oh. Hang on, let me get you back.
So the idea that
Well, they're going to hear you right at the moment. Coming. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay.
Can you hear me? The idea that has motivated this, oh yeah, there's a problem with the screen here. This seminar, workshop, is the idea, you might remember me saying this a dozen times last night, for example. The idea that there's an infinite and absolute power, truth, love, beauty of being that is the origin and substance of this universe. It has burst forth as this universe. And that bursting forth in the tradition from which I'm speaking is known as the Divine Mother, the Mahashakti, the will and force and truth and love and beauty of that divine origin. So they are one at that level. And the practice of yoga to liberate the inner being from the various levels of nature that we embody is the basic idea of yoga. And all the practices of yoga are meant to help liberate that inner being so that it can realize that highest divine truth of itself. Just to reiterate what Alan was saying a minute ago. And as for the meditation on something, whatever helps to silence the mind and elevate the being, there's a principle in Raja Yoga known as samyama, which Sri Aurobindo is invoking in this teaching that I'm promoting. The idea of concentrating on an object, a divine object in this case, and allowing consciousness to become one with that object, or to incorporate that object in our consciousness as ourself. So it's a practice of not objectifying something outside of ourselves to be known, but incorporating that which is to be known in our consciousness in such a way that its entire truth is immediately grasped as a whole by the consciousness. This is different from ratio in our conventional scientific sense of knowing something. It's the intuitive mind which grasps things as a whole. And that higher intuition is something that we can cultivate and should cultivate as human beings that aspire to truth and goodness and power and beauty. And through that cultivation, we can, a principle like democracy can be understood as an evolutionary stage of human society which promotes unity and diversity, and somehow helps to figure out how unity and diversity can be mutually accommodated in a society. So that's a divine principle. And in this mystical, spiritual school of thought, one of the stages in the descent of the divine into manifestation, we've spoken about the gods, Vayu, Agni, and Indra. Between the gods and this lower world of manifestation has been envisioned by various mystical schools a plane of daemons, daimones. The daimones are a larger diversity of divine forces that work out various principles through humanity. And so democracy, for example, is one of those daemons that exists eternally throughout human time and influences by its power the behavior of humans, facilitates, assists, and supports the behavior of humans. And so in Sri Aurobindo's poetry, we often see the reference to this plane of beings who are below the gods but above the range of human mind. So those are realities that are known to a mystical consciousness of the cosmic hierarchy. The compression of prana through the practice of pranayama and the circulation of prana and the elevation of prana and the illumination of the body through the descent of prana. This is defined in the Upanishads and various Hindu and Buddhist practices as the breathing in of prana and the assimilation in the body of the prana by the pressure of the breath. The prana is assimilated. The movement of the prana upward through the crown chakra to connect with the source, the bringing down of the prana shakti into the body, and the expulsion through the breath, the apana, to fill the space, to expel the impurities. And so this idea that we have of breathing and inhaling and exhaling and elevating and ascending and descending and all of that, this is simply an embodiment of the subtle pranic energy in us that's going on all the time. It merely is compressed through this practice in a way that can facilitate a higher awareness of it and of ourselves and of everything. And that enhances our ability to experience the whole, the all, ourself and others, as one organism, one being that is individualized in us, but exists in itself also as an embodiment of those principles. We can universalize ourselves, universalize our lives, universalize our minds, and to silence the little mind and allow the ego to disappear is a way of enabling us to acquire that sense of identity with the whole and that sense of identity with the higher ranges of existence. And that puts us on another footing with respect to the life that we live. I'm not sure that I have time for Savitri at this point. There are cantos in Savitri in which Sri Aurobindo has transmitted all of these different types of knowledge and experience. And I could read a section of a canto which is a description of the opening of the chakras, all of the chakras, to the divine truth and force, and experiencing that descent totally and transforming the individual. It's a beautiful canto, but I think we don't have time for it. It's already 5 minutes to 5. So I think
Thank you.
just
How much time do you think is
15 minutes.
Ask.
Would you like to devote another 15 minutes
Yes,
to
thank you.
We would love
Thanks, Alan. Have a good evening.
So those who are interested can, or have the time. Because people are not all going to be present tomorrow, I would like there to be one more incantation. And I think this one is an extremely beautiful one. Let me just say again that this collection of the structure of this teaching of Sri Aurobindo, or this compilation of teachings, is basically in 2 parts. The first half of the collection is about the yoga of a great guru, through whose yoga Savitri, the goddess, is brought to the earth and embodied for the sake of the transformation of the human soul and body and life. So the second half of the book is the experiences of the goddess Savitri in the process of transforming the human. So and the yoga experiences of Aswapati, the guru and father, are recapitulated in the yoga of Savitri. So we hear much of the same things in the first part that we hear in the second part, just with infinite variety of expression. And so this experience of Savitri has occurred a couple of times in this book, in this collection of cantos. The title of the canto is Finding the Soul. Now the half-opened lotus bud of her heart had bloomed. Now the half-opened lotus bud of her heart had bloomed and stood disclosed to the earthly ray. In an image shone, revealed, her secret soul. There was no wall severing the soul and mind. No mystic fence guarding from the claims of life. In its deep lotus home, her being sat, as if on concentration's marble seat, calling the mighty mother of the worlds to make this earthly tenement her house. As in a flash from a supernal light, a living image of the original power, a face, a form, came down into her heart and made of it its temple and pure abode. But when its feet had touched the quivering bloom, a mighty movement rocked the inner space, as if a world were shaken and found its soul. Out of the inconscious, soulless, mindless night, a flaming serpent rose, released from sleep. It rose, billowing its coils, and stood erect, and climbing mightily, stormily on its way, it touched her centers with its flaming mouth, as if a fiery kiss had broken their sleep. They bloomed and laughed, surcharged with light and bliss. Then at the crown it joined the eternal space. In the flower of the head, in the flower of matter's base, in each divine stronghold and nature knot, it held together the mystic stream, which joins the viewless summits with the unseen depths. The string of forts that make the frail defense, safeguarding us against the enormous world. Our lines of self-expression in its vast. An image sat of the original power, wearing the mighty mother's form and face. Armed, bearer of the weapon and the sign, whose occult might no magic can imitate. A savior gesture stretched her lifted arm, and symbol of some native cosmic strength. A sacred beast lay prone before her feet. A silent, flame-eyed mass of living force. All underwent a high celestial change, breaking the black inconscience, blind, mute wall, effacing the circles of the ignorance. Powers and divinities burst flaming forth, each part of the being, trembling with delight, lay overwhelmed with tides of happiness, and saw her hand in every circumstance, and felt her touch in every limb and cell. In the country of the lotus of the head, which thinking mind has made its busy space, in the castle of the lotus twixt the brows, whence it shoots the arrows of its sight and will, in the passage of the lotus of the throat, where speech must rise, and the expressing mind and the heart's impulse run towards word and act. A glad uplift and a new working came. The immortal's thoughts displaced our bounded view. The immortal's thoughts, earth's drab idea and sense. All things now bore a deeper, heavenlier sense. Reset the balance and measure of the world. Each shape showed its occult design, unveiled God's meaning in it for which it was made, and the vivid splendor of his artist's thought. a channel of the mighty Mother's choice, the immortal's will took into its calm control our blind or erring government of life. A loose republic once of wants and needs, then bowed to the uncertain sovereign mind. Life now obeyed to a diviner rule, and every act became an act of God. In the kingdom of the lotus, in the kingdom of the lotus of the heart, love chanting its pure hymeneal hymn made life and body mirrors of sacred joy. In the kingdom of the lotus of the heart, love chanting its pure hymeneal hymn made life and body mirrors of sacred joy, and all the emotions gave themselves to God. In the navel lotus, broad imperial, in the navel lotus's broad imperial range, its proud ambitions and its master lusts were tamed into instruments of a great calm sway to do a work of God on earthly soil. In the narrow nether center's petty parts, its childish game of daily dwarf desires was changed into a sweet and boisterous play, a romp of little gods with life in time. In the deep place where once the serpent slept, there came a grip on matter's giant powers, for large utilities in life's little space. A firm ground was made for heaven's descending might. Behind all reigned her sovereign, deathless soul, casting aside its veil of ignorance. Allied to gods and cosmic beings and powers, it built the harmony of its human state, surrendered into the great world mother's hands. Only she obeyed her soul. Only she obeyed her soul's supreme behest in the enigma of the inconscience world. A secret soul, a secret soul behind, supporting all, is master and witness of our ignorant life. Amidst the persons look, and nature's robe. But once the hidden doors are flung apart, then the veiled king steps out in nature's front. A light comes down into the ignorance. Its heavy, painful knot loosens its grasp. The mind becomes a mastered instrument, and life a hue and figure of the soul. All happily grows towards knowledge and towards bliss. A divine puissance then takes nature's place and pushes the movements of our body and mind, possessor of our passionate hopes and dreams, the beloved despot of our thoughts and acts. She streams into us with her unbound force, into mortal limbs, the immortal's rapture and power. An inner law of beauty shapes our lives. Our words become the natural speech of truth. Each thought is a ripple of a sea of light. Then sin and virtue leave the cosmic lists. They struggle no more in our delivered hearts. Our acts chime with God's simple natural good, or serve the rule of a supernal right. All moods, unlovely, evil, and untrue, forsake their stations in fierce array, in fierce disarray, and hide their shame in the subconscious dusk. Then lifts the mind a cry of victory. O soul, my soul, we have created heaven. Within we have found the kingdom here of God. His fortress built in a loud, ignorant world. Our life is entrenched between two rivers of light. We have turned space into a gulf of peace and made the body a capital of bliss. What more? What more? If more must still be done.